I think Fusion 2 really brings together the best of what our current navigation solutions offer. It pulls together our INS and our acoustic side of things into one simple system that hopefully makes operations a lot easier for customers offshore. Fusion 1 was getting very old. I think it was developed over 20 years ago now, so obviously we were looking at new and better ways to improve that.
We've gathered a lot of feedback from the customers with sort of reviewing support cases and things like that. You know, what are the common problems that they've had with Fusion 1 and with Sprint, so we've tried to address it in that way.
And one of the key things that really spurred us on is the fact that for LBL INS operations, we have to have Sprint and Fusion 1 running side by side at the moment, which makes for a very complex interface.
I mean, Fusion 1 was never written for 6G technology, whereas Fusion 2 has been written from the ground up specifically to work with our 6G technologies.
So by combining everything into one single bit of software, we're hoping to really improve the workflows offshore, make sure systems are a lot more intuitive and easy to set up, and also give us a brand new platform for our software in order to build on the advantages we're getting from our new technologies. So we've got our entire software team working on the Fusion 2 software. We've got our INS team working on the Sprint improvements and the firmware that goes with that. And we've got our subsea team working on the 6G plus improvements. So it's quite a considerable amount of the engineering department has been involved in the whole Fusion 2 release. We've also been improving our hardware side of things and the firmware that goes with the system, because Fusion 2 really is a system rather than just the software. So we've got improvements to our 6G firmware, we've got improvements to our Sprint firmware.
The real benefits is going to be reduced hardware potentially on the seabed, because we're now making Sparse LBL a lot easier, so that means less hardware on the seabed. It's hopefully going to speed up operations, make it easier to use, make it more efficient for the way that the operations work, because now we're trying to mimic how an offshore project will actually go, sort of all the way through from its early stages in planning onshore. You know, we now have the ability that they can sort of put all their locations into the software onshore, so that can then go offshore. So it's now kind of following how the sort of construction survey project will happen.
Well, one of the things we've been trying to work on is trying to improve the usability of the system and making sure that when problems occur, we're trying to give the user as much information as possible so that they can diagnose and troubleshoot without having to go through the palaver of going through customer support and sending files forwards and backwards offshore. We've really tried to remove any clutter and tried to make sure that the UI is only showing you what you need to know. So in regards to alarms, we've got vehicle-centric alarms now, so that when you're looking at a navigation chart, instead of just an alarms button popping up saying you have an alarm in the system, we now have it tailored so it pops up over the vehicle that relates to. So when you have multiple vehicles in the system, you'll be able to see exactly which vehicle that alarm relates to. So again, trying to make it as easy as possible for the user to diagnose and see what's going on in their system.
And we're hopefully taking some of the stress out of the operations as well by hopefully making the software much easier to use, make it faster, make it more operable, to make the life of the offshore surveyor hopefully a little bit easier.